Howdy ho, listeners. Armchair Analysts podcast, episode 32, coming at you on this beautiful afternoon in Minnesota. My name is Ace. With me, as always, is
Johnny, and it is like super overcast the last couple of days, so screw you.
Yeah, what can you say? But you know what? We're still here doing this again. It's number 32, like I mentioned. What hit us with what we got today?
All right,
Johnny?
Quick rundown. We'll start off with my Random Rant, Regional Roundup, talk Bucks, Twins, a little bit of Vikings, and then some Trumply activities with the Big Ten. Ace has his wonderful weekend recap, which is going to be golf. Do our Soundbite of the week. We have our tee-off topic, which is the NFL season starting, as everyone knows. We'll wrap up with Ace's quick six. So, to get us kicked off here, my Random Rant this week is going to be... Alright, so right now we are in the middle of the seltzer. It's like a secondary pandemic, right? Like every white girl, every young teen in America is obsessed with White Claw, is obsessed with Truly. I mean, you got Corona coming out with it. What was it? Bud Light has their own. Like everyone has their own seltzer.
Natty Light, Natural Light.
Man,
even.
like it's just everyone's hopping on that bandwagon. But just go back like 5-ish years, right? Maybe 6 years. And what was starting around then? I mean, you had Liney's coming out with Summer Shandy, which all of a sudden just took off. Everyone had to have their own, right? And a little bit after that, what came after that? You had like your sparkling ciders, you had like your hard ciders, like all that kind of stuff. Go back before
Mike's
that.
Hard.
What was before that? Yeah, you had your wine coolers, your Mike's Hards, and before that was like your low-cal beers. Like as soon as someone made a light beer, it's like, well, we all have to have low-cal. So like, what's coming up? Like, is it just whoever has the best marketing and has like a decent product? Like, for me, I feel like it's equal parts marketing, branding as it is the product. Like. So many people are like, oh, what's wrong with White Claws? You just throw some vodka in there. I'm like, I mean, the point of having those kind of drinks is that you don't need to throw anything in there. Like, I get it that it can be used as, like, a mixer, but I don't know. Like, it just feels like there's just... It's great until it's forgotten for the next fad, right? Like, I'm sorry, but I have not seen anyone promoting their shandies or their wine coolers or their ciders. Like... I know that everyone's like, White Claw's different. Like, I know there's no laws when you're drinking the claws. I understand that. But I feel like it's just another big fad. And I don't know. Like, I guess a lot of people really like seltzer water. And to have alcohol in it is, like, just a big win.
Keeps them hydrated. Personally, if I can chime in, I think the next phase is milk stouts and modifying those into like a seasonal drinking experience, meaning all year round. Maybe that's where they go.
It has to be something that, like the general audience, mainly females, the purchase power people. Like, because if you notice all of those, like, I'm sorry, but men aren't going to be, they're not going to be the majority purchasers of everything else I listed. Maybe low-cal beers like Miller Lite and Bud Light, sure, but... Everything else was targeted mostly towards women, so...
Well, correct.
I don't know a ton of women that drink porters or stouts, but...
Maybe, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe you're asking... I just wanted to give my feedback on your rant.
Yeah. Get your own segment, buddy. Speaking of your own segment, no. Let's move on to the Regional Roundup here. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about last night. I mean, the Bucks got jimmied. They got the Russells jimmied. Jimmy Bucket's on fire, career high 40 points last night. I mean, Middleton. The starting five played great, but like everyone talks about how deep the Bucks are, you just didn't really see it yet last night. And I'm not.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, nothing holding back. This was the one matchup I was most afraid of because we've seen what they can do with the Celtics in 7 games. If it needs to go that far, they'll win out. Although I will say, the J Twins are pretty terrifying this year. But honestly, I was really hoping someone would knock the Heat. I was hoping they'd be seated with somebody else and get knocked out because they match up too well. Like even during the regular season, I think they beat us 3-1. Like we don't match up well against them. We don't play well against them, and I'm telling you, it's something with those Miami Vice jerseys. Ever since they started changing with those, no matter what jersey they wear during game time, since they made the swap to them, we play like shit, dude. Like, it's bad. So I know
They're a beautiful jersey.
They are. They're amazing. My Rocket League car is actually fashioned after those jerseys, but I don't know. It's kind of like a slap in the face, kind of like Game 1 with the Magic. So, get off your high horse, realize that it's still playoff basketball, and you got to win correct. 4, right? Winning 1's great, but you got to win 4. So
I think they definitely came out a little flat and not as explosive.
Yeah, but you can't.
Exactly.
This
similar
is round
to the
2, though. You can do that in round 1. That's acceptable. That happens quite often, actually. I mean, look at the Lakers, right? Like, they had to right their ship, and the Bucks did as well. But you can't do that in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not an option. You can't fall flat and fall down a game. There's no home court advantage. It's not like you can all right, well, game 3 we'll take it back. Like, no, man. Like, you have to make the best of the opportunities that you're given.
Well.
And it's just not happening.
And I thought Giannis did. Yeah, I thought Giannis played a little outside himself the last handful of minutes to try to bring the team back.
It's you know what, you could say that, but then if he made some of those plays, then it's like, oh my gosh, like he's MVP. So I'm not going to buy that argument. I will say that the same thing that killed us the last couple times in the playoffs, free throw shooting, reared its ugly head last night. I think the Bucks shot 40, or I think it's 54% or something like that. Something atrocious, something just awful. It's called the charity stripe for a reason. Wow. There's no reason that this should be happening. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty much all. It was a lot more than I wanted to say because it was embarrassing, but that's pretty much all I got, man.
Game 2, I think, is tomorrow. So look for that. Look for them to come out with more fire. All right, good segue into the Twins. Actually, speaking of falling off the map, they were in first place this time last week, and now we're in third place behind the Indians and the White Sox. And we're playing the White Sox now, but we've lost 6 straight. Hasn't been pretty. Offense is going to get some firepower back, which is good. Josh Donaldson's been out for a while. I think people forgot that he was even a signing in the offseason for us with all that's going on. So it'll be good to get him back. Buxton, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of him, but at least having his speed there will help. Twins need a win for sure. Just like the Bucks. Twins and the Bucks need to start winning some frickin' games. Let's continue. Vikings.
It's like it's a chore now when you have to talk about bad stuff, isn't it? It's just not fun. It's just not fun.
The Vikings signed in a trade Ngakoue.
Oh my gosh. Ngakoue.
Oh, Ngakoue. Oh my god, I knew I was going to mispronounce it. All right.
I knew you were too. Ngakoue. That's why I was trying to hold my laugh until it came out. But
that's what happens when you try too hard. No, we acquired him over the weekend in a trade from the Jaguars. Yes, the Jaguars, that is, are basically dumping.
I'm not kidding. It's literally a fire sale on either side of the ball. They don't want. They're dumping any contract, anyone that wants a good contract, anyone that even thought about holding out or wanted to leave the team. Boom, door, bye. Mm-hmm. They dropped Fournette too. This has nothing to do with the Midwest or the Vikings or Packers, but yeah, they're literally getting rid of everybody. So
yeah, it's insane. They're going to be worse than the Dolphins. I think when was it last year or whenever they. Or maybe the defeated Lions. Either way, Ngakoue is Ngakoue. God dang it, Yannick. He's a fifth-year player. Took a pay cut to sign with the Vikes, but it helps on the defensive line for sure. Plays defensive end, but he can, I think, play both sides of it too. Either way,
he's just an edge player.
Just an edge. Okay.
Well, I mean, he can play DN, but he's an edge rusher. He'll go wherever. Depending what package you're in, he just rushes the quarterback. That's what he does.
Perfect. We got him on one side,
you sure do.
On the other, and with Michael Pierce sitting out.
I saw and I think it was SI. They released an article. They had ranking the top 10 pass rushing duos, or the top ranking every team. Vikings were number 2. So yeah. I feel pretty good.
I take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one downside though is it's likely we're going to cut our left tackle in order to preserve some cap space. That Riley Reef is due $8 million, and finally started negotiations with like this week on restructuring it, which is terrible timing. So it's likely he's not going to want to touch that, and we might just waive him, unfortunately.
It is a business. All right, so this last thing literally happened like this morning, and I thought it was a troll attempt. I thought Google was just trying to mess with my life, but apparently President Trump actually called the Big Ten commissioner, and they had a talk about, what it would take and why. And actually, this finally, you got some more results and some more answers, actually, what made this decision happen so quickly. And obviously we heard about like the parents protesting to have their kids play. All the Big Ten parents had different rallies in respective areas. So I know that the Big Ten and the commissioner specifically has gotten a lot of pressure and a lot of fire from a lot of people to revert and turn over their decision, which it sounded like they were just so adamant about. Like it was this is what we're doing, this is what's happening. And now it's like, well, maybe they could overturn this now.
I think they were caught in the dark, to your point, the athletic directors and the football coaches, because the presidents and the chancellors of the universities made those decisions, I believe, ultimately.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, it's like it's lose-lose, right? Like you don't want to risk
the
kids, yeah, it's rough, It's not like an easy decision. It's not one you want to make. But I mean, the Big Ten did vote 11-3 to postpone the fall season. Like it wasn't like really close. Like it was one vote. Like it wasn't unanimous, but it was damn close. Like it was more than the majority. So, but yeah, with the parents kind of kicking back a little bit, and Trump talking to the commissioner, maybe this changes, but we're supposed to. Technically, this was supposed to be the first weekend of football, really. But
what's your gut tell you about it? And you're right. This should have been the opening weekend.
My gut, I don't know. I don't really. We'll talk about it in our tee-off topic later about the NFL season starting, but it's just so different with college, though. And then you have Saban, leading the troops. Having the SEC and the ACC and all those the other power conferences just going after it like this is no big deal. So I feel like they should do it, but I don't know. Kids are dumb, man. We talked about this, right? Like kids are stupid. Having them at least engaged in football and activities maybe will be safer, but you got to remember the roster is almost twice the size of an NFL team. Like 90 kids, man. Yeah. So I can't answer that one. Gut says whatever. Because it's just like politics. You're going to piss off a bunch of people either way, right? So, and the thing is, you have all these parents protesting, but the second that, someone on the team catches it and it spreads like wildfire, they're all going to be like, well, how could you do this? How are we not protecting our kids? It's like, bro, like, what do you want? Pick a side of the coin.
We'll see what happens. I mean, this would be a huge blow to the Pac-12, obviously, who's basically now the forgotten, the fifth major conference in all of this, knowing that it doesn't seem likely that California's going to sway at all.
Oh,
there's no talks. There's nothing of this nature. And so to add on to this, Dan Patrick on his show, or just within the last handful of hours, said a source mentioned to him they're targeting October 10th, the Big Ten to start. If obviously a huge if like safety measures and procedures can pass a vote. So like basically they introduce updated safety measures, protocols and everything, and the commissioners, it seems like, and the presidents have to vote on this. But October 10th, perhaps? How are you going to, that's stupid. How are you going to have a real playoff when teams have played 7 games?
Well, yeah, that, and if everything goes as scheduled right now, like what's even the point of having it if their seasons aren't going to start at the same time? Like one's going to end when the other is starting. Like I don't know. It's really weird because most of the big games have already been played by that point. But we digress. All right, my man. All right, so that's the regional goodies. I know that you want to chat about El Golfo for a little bit, and then we have our soundbite. So take it away.
Yeah, golf. So this was last weekend was the second leg of the Tour Championship FedEx Cup Finals. So basically, the third leg coming up here in East Lake, Georgia, is going to award the best overall player of the year. It's basically the Player of the Year trophy. And what's interesting is that the first round, which took place 2 weeks ago, Northern Trust, Dustin Johnson won in like huge fashion, blew out the field by 11 shots. That was played in Boston, uh, and that was with a field of 125. This past weekend, the BMW Championship in, I believe it was Illinois, just outside Chicago or like around the suburbs there, was played with only 70 participants. So basically, the top 70 in the FedEx Cup standings. Um, they've started the standings now for a handful of years, and it's kind of a cool little deal because now, uh, basically, the top 30 then face off so the top 30 rated players face off in the finale next week. All right, I digress on the overall structure of everything. Basically, next week, the overall tour championship will be crowned winner. However, this past weekend, Jon Rahm, didn't see it live, but Jon Rahm sunk a 66-foot birdie putt on the playoff hole against Dustin Johnson, and basically winning a tournament will almost automatically vault you to the number one ranking. And so, because Dustin Johnson won the week before, he was number one, and Rahm was far off. He was top 10. I don't think he was there, but because he won, that vaulted him up to number one. So it's basic. So the playoff, amazingly, was between him and DJ, and the fact that it even took Dustin a huge, I think it was like a 30-foot putt on the 18th hole of the regular round, final round, to actually tie it. He hit a clutch putt there. Was pretty impressive. We'll see. I'm guessing you don't have much. I know you practiced a lot. We're learning the game a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie, I tuned you out. I literally I listened to that clip probably 6 times while you were talking. It's so good. It's so good.
It is.
And you gotta imagine if there was a crowd of people there to watch. Imagine if they were fans. I know. Let's take a quick listen though.
Can't help but think of the long one he made in San Diego to pick up his first PGA Tour win. In style. Here it comes. Here it. Watch out! Comes! He's got it! Wow! Is this all really happening? What a putt! That is from 66 feet.
Woo! Man, it is
that slight crowd noise though is somewhat intoxicating.
It gives you a little bit of chills real quick, but just seeing how that putt, like, because obviously it's a weird angle, not a weird angle, but it's just you don't see you can't really see the green as he's seeing it, and all of a sudden like it just makes that arc. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And then you hear just the peaceful tranquility of the ball, and then all of a sudden the crowd goes crazy. Yeah, that's intoxicating stuff. That's a good clip for sure.
Yeah, the broadcast crew did a good job explaining, even though it is video. So check it out if you haven't seen it.
Indeed. We'll post it up on the soch, post it up on the tweeter. All right, are you ready to get down to business? You're done. You're done messing around. It's time to get down to business.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
So, not really a huge deal, kind of a big deal. Next Thursday is the start of NFL football. So, everything right now in my life, maybe not my life, but everything not involving work in my life has been football, fantasy, that kind of crap. We're still thinking about maybe, bludgeoning someone and taking their season tickets to get into the Lambeau Field for a game if they allow us.
Do it.
There's a lot of talk about it, and the whole time you're thinking like, well, what if they do like a St. Louis Cardinals kind of thing? Like, what if they just bungle this to the point where it's like it's done, right? So, fortunately, we got some good data back. We don't know. I'm assuming it's accurate because I'm a very trustworthy human. But they tested 58,621 players and staff over about the span of about a week, and only 10 positive tests came back for COVID. So it feels like maybe, and don't quote me, that the NFL might be able to handle this, and we might actually have a real season. What do you think?
Who's to say? Who is to say? I do think they'll definitely get the season started off on the right foot. And one of the things, I don't know if this is like universal across the league, but I know in the Vikings camp, or at least in their facility, they have a chip. It's basically like almost looks like a watch band that will basically keep people distanced almost at all times. So that's one way that they're helping to kind of bridge this sort of chaotic scenario, or at least keeping everybody physically distanced, basically. I think it's going to get underway. It just is a matter of how long, too, because of the brutal nature of the sport. It's just hard to see this sort of small percentage of test positive throughout the week in and week out. But I don't know.
Yeah, because you got to remember, this is people with their own, their own team, their own organization and staff, but still, 1.7%. I mean, that's, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah. You got to keep in mind. Obviously, they're not traveling. They're not, engaging with other players. Yep. It's just their own team, which, for all intents and purposes, is they're most likely being concentrated with themselves and have been for the duration of the delayed camp and everything. So. I don't know, man. I honestly was so reserved. Because we've been doing a sports podcast without sports for a while, and then it's like once baseball wouldn't nail down a deadline. Your boy Manfred, he does his thing, but I don't know. I was actually very what?
Well, I was going to say the fact that the Vikings Packers play week 1, it's like we have this whole build up to talk about them next week. It'd be awesome if that came to fruition.
Yeah, and but like for quite a bit, I was like, we're probably not getting anything, because I was very certain. I'm like, okay, I need to make other plans, to be productive in the fall because, just seeing how other organizations handled it. But then you get the bubble, which obviously is, we're talking 15 players and, maybe another handful of staff and coaches added on. So 30-ish people per team, but
yeah,
it gave me hope. And I don't know, man, I'm hoping that we can actually get an NFL season because I could use it. It would be nice. It would definitely help things, but not being able to go to the game, that hurts me. Not being able to congregate in bars really to go see it ish. I feel like the places are getting a little more lax. I know Madison's always been, they were the first one to shut down. They're one of the first ones for the mandated mask orders and all that good stuff. But I feel like they're relaxing a little bit. But that'll be nice.
I'm seeing that too across the state here. Just a lot more relaxed laws, but. We'll see. I mean, ultimately, it'll be nice, especially now that I joined the fantasy football team this year.
Woo! Come on, everybody. Round of applause. You can't applaud yourself.
Oh, that was just audio effects.
We don't have the budget for that.
It's a nice segue from all that's going on in the world, and I think you're right. A lot of people enjoy watching and enjoy obviously the gambling aspect of it. They enjoy a lot of things.
I didn't even think of that. Oh my gosh. I mean, fantasy is like the most rudimentary form of gambling for football, right? Like it's a short. I mean, even if you're paying like $100 entry fee, you're putting that in and you're riding that for the whole year. For 16 weeks. Yeah. That's your maybe 17 depending on your league. You're riding that pony, but yeah, gambling. That's that'll probably be the most gratifying thing for me, even if I don't watch quite as much as I used to. That'll still be really nice, but yeah, it'll be nice. I think that they can pull it off, and my hope is that once we get to like a point where maybe things people are getting a little too comfortable, a little too relaxed, that someone steps in and is like, all right, you know what, we've done well, but let's not F it up, let's keep it going. Seriously, because that's my worry. It's like once the player's like, oh, this is nothing, we're fine. I mean, the worst case scenario, you have, well, that's the problem, right? Like if you have like a Patrick Mahomes, typically like a quarterback or like a star receiver, a star, your boy Ngakoue, if he gets hurt or if he gets a test positive, like things that would basically make the game not the game anymore. Like if you're watching a Chiefs Packers game, Rodgers, Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, the Smith Bros are out. Well, like, who cares, right? Like, it's not really those teams then, right? So, everyone wants to see what happens, with Hop on the Cardinals or Brady on the Bucks, but if they're not playing with COVID, I mean, that's going to hurt across the board, and it's just going to make fans generally disinterested. So that's kind of my worry.
Yeah, and especially when you start something, a lot of people are going to be expecting this to finish, no matter what happens. Just like baseball, they're carrying on as usual, even though the Cardinals play like, handful of doubleheader games. It's like they're gonna. There's an expectation once you start something, basically, and I think the fan base for all NFL teams is going to be somewhat in uproar, except for maybe the Jaguars, who clearly don't care all that much. We'll see. I definitely, I know I keep saying we'll see, but at the end of the day, they're going to continually test these players, I think, every other day, it sounds like. Or
yeah, it sounds really brutal, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that they got to get the testing, too, that's speeded up. That the White House has a freaking COVID test that's like 30 minutes you get the results back from.
Sure.
It's just... So it's like, what the heck? How can you say there's access to everything?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Clearly... Like, with all the smaller leagues, I'm like, out of every professional sports league, NFL has to have the most resources, right? They're the most people. They've got the most funds. They have the most at stake because they're the only people that have a chance of playing a full season. Like, fans are no fans. Like, they still have a chance to play. I mean, okay, sorry, there's no preseason. They have a chance to play a full regular season and playoffs. No other sport had that opportunity. So I think they had the most at stake. So I feel like they've gone through, and that's not like the players at this point. Like, they know what's going on. They know their shit by now. Yep. So you have a reasonable expectation, like you said. Like, if they're gonna start it, that it's critical thinking and problem solving. Okay, well, the Cardinals did this, and this. Well, we're going to have to backload them. We're going to have to give them a couple double headers. We're going to have to put a couple back-to-backs. Cut out a day of rest here. Like, they figure it out. You got to make it work. That's that. You know what? All those people that have been sitting there and enjoying their lofty positions in the NFL exec seats. Well, time to get your shit together, dude. Time to get your stuff together and do your job.
And there is no degree of error in terms of pushing games back either. They've got kind of such a tight window there that if like one game team outbreak, one team has to basically, well, I guess maybe they do forfeit. I don't know. They haven't discussed anything like that, but I don't.
But like, then you have to think of like, what are the parameters? Like, if there's a breakout, sure, okay, obviously you're not going to be able to field a team, and if you do and someone gets injured, you're going to have, your punter playing cornerback or something. Like, obviously there's ramifications, but then it's like, okay, well, oh shit, Tom Brady has it. Well, you know what? Then you're just going to have to figure it out, and you play the game, right? But obviously, as far as like viewership and the amount of people giving,
they would want to push that. They would want to push that back. So, could you imagine if Brady or Breeze got COVID now and had to sit out week 1? Those two facing each other, they'd want to push that back so fast.
But okay, so think back. When was the last time the NFL ever had to postpone like a game and then reschedule it? Do you remember?
I remember the hurricanes and the Vikings collapsed stadium. The Metrodome was one. I know there was some hurricanes.
But like multiple games though for multiple teams. It was 9/11, right?
Was it Hurricane Katrina?
They literally pushed everything back. Like the Super Bowl always used to be the last Sunday in January, and then they pushed it back, and it would always end up like it was always end up on like the 3rd or the 4th of February after that. And they just kind of kept it. So, I mean, if there was a couple teams, like maybe you could push. I don't know, man, because there's just so many other implications you're making, and so like the logistics of everything else is just kind of bungled too. So. Dude, it's gonna be interesting, bro. It's gonna be interesting. I
can't wait to see, especially this first week go by, and just like the whole exuberant, the whole exhaust, just leveling down, realizing that the tests were very low to begin with. Maybe they come up with a different testing facility too, because apparently the one that has false positives could be quite a bit of an alarm.
I'd be okay if the Vikings keep getting those, though. By the way. Just for the record, that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, watch something political happen like that, where like you find out the Patriots are sabotaging the testing facilities or paying off crap for false.
How amazing! Like, you know what? It's just at this point you just expect, like, okay, what's the next scandal? What's the next
Exactly.
gate? There will be some. It's like
COVID gate.
Like, you can see that. You can see the headlines, can't you? You can see the headlines.
Absolutely, especially being in like New Jersey or some crap right there. It's just a short drive from Boston, Mass.
Oh, that's nothing for Kraft's crew. They can swing by and take that stuff out. No, I'm of the same mind as you. I'm ready for this week 1, and I want, ideally, it just, obviously without, going to a bar or going to the game, just kind of making it feel like, okay, well, that was our first week of football. It's very, very weird not going to training camp. It's very, very weird not having like preseason to at least warm you up. It's also very weird not having like real college football to butter you up either. But because that was always the best part, right? Like the weather starts to turn. The first day of September, you get set that Saturday of college football, and then the next weekend is pro. Like I always love that transition, man. But
this is the surprise you didn't know was coming, not even like just on a random day that your girlfriend gets you, You're like, oh my God, this is great. It's here. Boom.
Right? Like it just kind of peeps up out of nowhere. It's like, oh,
Yeah, that excitement is going to be loud.
I'm honestly, I'm still in the point of disbelief. So why don't you help me get to the point of belief, get me ready for my fantasy draft. Tell me, what is Ace's Quick Six this week?
Quick Six this week is fantasy sleepers to keep an eye on. I did throw a couple rookies in, basically bringing this back because everyone knows how well I did with the PGA Quick Six picks. Just kidding. These though, I'm hoping stand out a little bit better, and yeah, let's kick it off with Emmanuel Sanders. He's now with the Saints, not the 49ers. So that passing attack alongside Mr. Michael Thomas, who's going to obviously catch a lot, and even Jared Cook as a tight end. But Sanders, I think especially in the later rounds, so obviously a sleeper, meaning it's likely you're going to pick him in the 8th, 9th plus rounds, depending how big of a draft pool. But either way, Sanders, I like him for the Saints. A rookie, CD Lamb for the Cowboys. Again, kind of going with that trend of basically not the marquee player, but that should be number 2 stud on the field, the number 2 receiver for them. CD Lamb's the rookie out of, where's he from? Oklahoma. I don't know. I liked him coming out of the draft. The speed, obviously Jerry Jones and Prescott himself needs a new contract, so he's going to do what he can to get him the ball. Let's see. Number 3, N'Keal Harry. And no, I don't need help pronouncing that,
John. He knows me. He just knows me.
N'Keal Harry, second-year player out of Arizona State for the Patriots. I think they need somebody alongside Edelman. So, again, knowing where Edelman's going to play and knowing how well Cam Newton played with Calvin Benjamin for 1 year and for Carolina, I'm hoping they can bring back some of that mustard because N'Keal Harry's got similar size to Benjamin. So, plus he's got some supreme talent.
Yeah, I know the Pats fans were absolutely crazy about just how athletic and just his skill set, and there was a lot of issues with the Patriots offense last year, and I don't think Harry really got a real chance to shine, unfortunately.
No, absolutely not. And another guy, speaking of, good segue, again, Paris Campbell, wide receiver for the Colts. Now that Phillip Rivers is there, I think he's going to use Campbell. I think he's got similar size to Keenan Allen, and Chargers offense, and they run similar offenses, which is one of the reasons he signed with them. The Colts, Phillip Rivers, that is. So Campbell being somewhat of a slot receiver, for the most part, I think is going to catch a lot of balls there, and especially with T.Y. Hilton, again, could end up as the second. I think it's between him and a couple other guys still on the depth chart, but regardless, another guy that you could get in the later rounds. All right, the next 2 are running backs. David Johnson, who now is on the Houston Texans. I know that name has been out there for a while, but I just think in that offense they need a back for sure. I don't know if they have Carlos Hyde or who's the guy there's another guy that catches balls out of the backfield that I'm blanking on his name for.
Oh, you make me sad. I'll give you the last name, Johnson. Hyde's on the Seahawks, by the way.
Duke Johnson, that's it.
Duke! Attaboy.
He'll steal catches, but regardless. And the last one you're going to like, our boy, well, no, really your boy, Jonathan Taylor. Madison product, the Badgers product, down the Lions. Now, yes, they still have Kerryon Johnson, but
He's on the Colts, by the way, not the Lions.
Oh my God, that's right. I wrote down the Lions, not even... Okay. Colts, whatever. They have Marlon back, but regardless, I still think they drafted him for a reason. Hey, the script still stands true. He's going to get some touches this year. It's basically going to be him and Mac now, and both are good backs, plus with an offensive line as stacked as the Colts are. They should be interesting to watch this year. But yeah, those are 6 guys. I could have obviously thrown more in. Do you got any suggestions off the top of your head?
Ace, I love you as a human, but I will never take fantasy advice from you. I apologize. Also, let's be completely honest here. Fantasy is so much luck. Like, I literally drank through my Dynasty League draft. Yep. I literally we had the taste of Madison here. It was day drinking. I wasn't going to be at the draft, whatever. I ended up with that auto draft team. I won second place in $300+. So, just saying. You can draft as great as you want to. You can go through all the algorithms. You can go through all the formulas and all the stuff you want to do.
I won't either. I won't.
And in the end, it's luck. I hate to say it. I want to say that I used to have faith in my draft process, but at this point, man, it's luck. It's a whole lot of
and that's why I went with teams or guys that are on playoff teams or ideally should be on playoff teams this year. So
like the Lions, Colts.
But yes, combined team this year. They're a super
Lion
team.
Colts. Well, even if combined, they might not win their respective divisions. All right. Thank you for that comic relief at the very least. Hopefully you guys found that a little more insightful. Got a lot of fantasy drafts, so yeah, don't forget give Ace some shout outs if any of those players actually follow you, and they do well, because he needs all the praise he can get sometimes. All right, that is our episode this week.
Most definitely.
Just to rehash some very, very, very often repeated stuff. If you're not already following us on Twitter at AA Podcast, please do. You can flame Ace here or flame me for having an annoying and nasally voice. We're also available wherever you find your favorite podcast. Please give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, family, your pet. That'd be great. Cool. We're also available on YouTube. All our episodes go up there after we publish them live on the other platforms. So, as always, we don't care how you listen as long as you do. Love you guys. Get ready for some football!
Woo!